classic sauerkraut. So that's just your green cabbage and a little pinch of caraway, and of course your salt as you go along, and I've added a little edible flour there. The edible flowers are very nice once they are fermented. You can ferment edible flowers by themselves. You can do a lovely flour sauerkraut with all your edible flowers, and just your green cabbage is really lovely. And the little flowers, they're like a little caper replacement. They're really tasty in a salad. You can top them onto a pizza. One of my favourite pizzas is just sweet potato. You steam your sweet potato and you add your green banana flour and you just roll it out onto your pizza tray and bake it. And then you can put all your little toppings on there, and it's really lovely. And your little fermented flowers are nice as a little topping. Speaking of sweet potato, there's the sweet potato sauerkraut, and again I did add some little edible flowers. The other one was the turmeric with the green cabbage, the turmeric and fennel, and again I've added some little edible flowers. Once they are fermented, what we do is we turn them into a lovely salad. Something, and you've got plenty of recipes there to get you started, and that's like your green cabbage, just a very plain sauerkraut base with your fresh ingredients added, and a dressing, an oil dressing, a good fat oil dressing will combine beautifully. And then when you draw off it each day, you can add a different little ingredient and keep changing it. I just like to do mine every week, and it just lasts for the week in the fridge. So when I do my prep day, I always start with a fresh green cabbage as well as a red cabbage salad. And that way you've got a change, and these are for your little sides, because that's what it is, it's a condiment. So then we have it as our condiment size on our meals, and it can go with every meal from breakfast right through to just a snack. If you're just wanting to have like a little cracker, you can spread it with some nut cheese, a slice of fresh tomato, and a little scoop of that on top, and it's just beautiful. We go to our beet kvass, meaning soured beverage. We've strained it off, and that's what it looks like. Oh, look at that beautiful rich colour. There's so much that you can do with this. You can transform it into a lovely salad dressing. You can pickle your eggs, which is one of my very favourites. You can pickle your eggs in any brines, and depending on what colour you use, whether it be like from a cucumber pickle to a purple cabbage to a brine, but this is just my favourite. It's the beet brine, and it penetrates right through to your egg. And look at that, isn't that just the most beautiful little egg? That colour goes right through. That's at day 2, so you do pop that into your fridge 2 to 3 days, and they're ready to eat, and they store well in your fridge. You just leave it in the brine, and that's a pickled egg. If you like it more like a sweet pickled egg, you can actually add a touch of sweetness in there, like a touch of honey. I don't, because I like them just like that. And my son, he absolutely adores these. Last night he was saying, "Are they ready yet?" And I said, "Well, you can try them. They don't have to be bright purple." And he did, and he said, "Oh, they're so nice. They just have that really beautiful, not sour taste, it's just a different egg taste, and it's just superb." So when you strain off your beet kvass, all your little beetroot pieces that you've strained off here, they're pretty spent, so you don't want to use it as a fermented vegetable, but you definitely can cook with them. When you're doing a veggie platter, put some eco foil underneath your beetroot, otherwise, unless you don't mind having pink all through your veggies. But yeah, just put some eco foil, put those in there, and your little daikon wedges as well, and you can bake those. I love to make it into a fresh salsa. So I take the lemongrass out because it's a bit coarse to add to a salsa, and I just get a nice big scoop of all this and some fresh ingredients, a little bit of spice if I want a spicy salsa, just blitz her away, and you've got a beautiful little salsa to serve. So that's your beet kvass. The beet kvass, we know how this is just so wonderful as a liver cleanser. It's beautiful. If you've been out celebrating and you've got a hangover, this is hangover cure stuff. You just have a little nip of that in the morning and you're right. So what you will go to, you'll build up to having a half a cup in the morning and a half a cup at night, and that's very, very cleansing, and it's a beautiful tonic. In Magda, my beautiful Russian friend, she said that in Russia they always called it nail and hair food. And she said for nails, you can actually immerse your nails into the big kvass, like in a little container, and that it's very, very healing nail food. We went to a pickled vegetable. With a pickled vegetable, as opposed to these, a pickled vegetable, we normally add our own brine. So it's a brined vegetable. The one we made yesterday was with the artichoke, and it was sort of more like a vegetable medley, and surprisingly enough, I didn't need to add any brine. The salt just sitting there while I was going through and adding all the little bits of leftovers, it produced its own brine, and plenty of it, look at that. And that is so much better if you can produce your own brine without adding your own liquid. That one has got microbial activity happening already. You can see the bubbles all bubbling up. That's because there's such a mixture in there. There's a little bit of sweetness. When you've got sweetness, you will get bubbles pretty quick. The little artichoke there just looks so beautiful. So that's your vegetable medley. When you do make a medley, the cabbage in that will be a little bit softer than with this, because the more ingredients you add, the softer it gets. That's why it's really good just to go very plain and simple with your sauerkrauts, and don't overload with ingredients. Don't use things like onions or peppercorns. They're way too strong in with your cabbage. They're much better to use like when you add it as with your fresh. You then add like your shallots and your salad onions. You add that to that ingredient, not as your start of your ferment. But of course, shallots and onions are beautiful to ferment, but by themselves. It's like garlic. Garlic's okay if it's made to a paste with kimchi, but not and to ferment by itself. But best not to add it to your sauerkraut, because it takes it's a lot longer process. So you're just mucking about. We've got to make it easy for the microbes. That's the thing. Our job is to make it as easy as possible to get the best result. Tomato salsa, that's your fresh tomatoes, and that one is in, I think it's module 3, and it's very, very easy. That's the easy one, and it's very tasty, and anyone will eat tomato salsa. Anyone, even if they've never eaten any fermented foods, tomato salsa is a beautiful start. And that one is just so easy, quick to ferment, 2 to 3 days, because it's ripe tomatoes, so it's a fruit, so it will ferment a lot quicker. You will have to make sure that you always keep it, like every ferment, you have to make sure that it's submerged, because this one will creep up because it's fruit. So it's producing a lot more carbon dioxide very fast. I always like to use, because of basil being beautiful tomatoes, this is when I always come in and use the stalks, the nice thicker stalks like that, like that. That's really good to just cross them and put them on top of your tomato, because that will certainly stop any rising from happening. They are just the most wonderful little weights, little stalks from your garden. And of course the basil goes beautiful with tomato.